for things like that happen. So from this standpoint, with these projects being pulled back, is that again a reduction of what CDOT had estimated?
Yeah, so all the funding decisions that you see here in the tip were made by our TAC representatives in the selection workshop. Some jurisdictions, in order to help the region, decided to give up some of their funding in that current year to help with a deficit that we're facing or being overprogrammed, to get later money in either the fiscal year 30 or 31 of the tip or the out years of the tip. So for this year, it was kind of a special process. Cost overruns were prioritized by our TAC. So no new projects were selected for this project selection workshop. And not all cost overruns were awarded. The amount of the cost overruns were more than what we had available to program. So those got put in one of the appendices for the unscheduled pool, for the amount that has not been awarded. So.
Thank you, because I was looking through this section right here. I mean, this item on the agenda, and those we're spending over $20+ million for 9 hybrid mass transit vehicles. I don't know if it'd be cheaper to get ones that are not hybrid or anything of that nature. But this again, I just want to reiterate that my condolences for PPACG staff that do the work with what they're told is going to happen, and then it doesn't happen, and they have to scramble and fix it. And is there a way, Mr. Chair, is there a way that we can elevate the concern to the CAC, not the CAC, but the PPACG board of this? Because it's in some aspects it may be wasting the effort and the time of our people when they have to go back and rework these things. Again, this appears to be a systemic problem that I have seen in the past. And I just remember last year we had a reduction too, and the board voted against that reduction as well. So this, just talking as a citizen, I'm seeing this. I don't like wastage in my government. My compliments to the PPACG staff that work diligently with what they're told and what they're given. And then they get something to change. It just causes a concern. Okay, over.
Before we go to Kathy, Danelle, at some point, if Welling had time, could he speak to the board and bring this in person instead of trying to draft a letter?
I mean, our board meetings are open to the public. You could certainly bring that forward as a public comment, certainly. And John can probably go into the details of this particular issue if we need to, but yes, it's the numbers you see reduced here in the early years of the TIP are the same as with fiscal year 26. So basically they over forecasted some things that had to do with the amount that the percentage that they were able to obligate, they thought was higher than was actually true in reality. So hopefully that is not a systemic issue and is a one-time. Someone at CDOT, you know, there was an issue that has now been fixed. I will say our forecasts going forward are more conservative, I think, than in the past. So we, I think, as staff, believe that we won't have this issue in the future unless perhaps reauthorization changes, you know, types of funding available, amounts of funding available, those kinds of things. But yeah, we do recognize that that's an issue, and we don't think that it will happen again.
Based on that, Welling, are you comfortable with?
Welling Clark, El Paso County. I would welcome the opportunity to talk before the board with observations of what I've seen in the past few years.
And if I might, this is America. We have an open process. So yep, just let when you show up to the board meeting, the next board meeting is March 11th at 9 o'clock. Make sure you let Jared know that you would like to utilize the call to the public. You will have 3 minutes, and at which time, when you hit 3 minutes and 1 second, I believe Jared has an air horn that he'll play or something. But yeah, you're all more than welcome to do that. As far as, again, what Danelle had said, let me just reiterate that again, the people who feel the most pain from this is our jurisdictions, right? And so when we explain how and why this happened to them, because the way the federal process works is they sort of tell you, hey, in the reauthorization bill, this is the size of the picture you're going to get for each one of the different funding sources. And then the appropriation kind of fills up the picture with water. And then there's the actual sort of, then we have the ability to program the money, take the money out of that picture and actually pour it into individual classes, which are the projects. And when we kind of explained to them that, hey, they said, hey, that we're going to take that picture and we're going to fill it up 95% of the way full. CDOT wasn't wrong in making that assumption, but when it actually got filled only to 90%, that's why we have this sort of issue. So that being said, I reminded the TAC, and I think the TAC is going to take this approach in the future, that we certainly can go less than what CDOT recommends. And I think that's probably, and again, to Danelle's point, that's why we think that the TAC in the future is going to say, hey, they think it's going to be a 96% obligation authority. I think our TAC would have a little chuckle and say, yeah, why don't you program us, Josh, for 91% or whatever. So I think, because again, if we under and we have money at the end, it doesn't go away. We just then program it on something and we spend it. But if you over, then you have to go through this little exercise that we've had to go through. So I think TAC has seen the light, and they're, now that they sort of get it, it's going to be addressed. But again, we're always very thankful for your support, as to all of the TAC members. And so again, as a citizen of this here United States, you're more than welcome to show up at the board meeting and utilize the public comment.
Can I also just make one? So when I spoke earlier about the 2026 funding and said that the projects were made whole in this tip, that is accurate. I did want to point out there is one project that is actually being removed from the tip, and that's the Creek Walk Trail Phase 6 project. That was not due to any issues. That was due to Manitou Springs saying, this is one of our projects you've awarded funding in the past. We would like to actually return that money to the pot and reallocate it because we have higher priorities. So just for your awareness, yes, that project is coming out of the tip, but it wasn't. It was caused by the jurisdiction.
Okay, thank you. Kathy, online.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I might have to tune in for the board meeting to see if Jared really does have an air horn.
Jared says challenge accepted.
In the TIP document itself, there are a couple of things that need correction probably before it goes out for public comment. On page 48 of our packet, it's page 33 of the document. In the table at the bottom of the page, under jurisdiction, we have El Paso with 2 S's in El Paso. So that should probably be corrected. And then on page 55 of our packet, page 40 of the document, in the table, middle of the page, the ID is 2019-120. We have Fillmore, Interstate 25, Fillmore to Garden of the Gods. Fillmore is 2 L's. And those are my only comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
Just thank you, Kathy, for pointing those out. We'll get those corrected before it goes to the board. Thank you.
Hey, any other questions? If not, can we get a motion to have this moved with our recommendation to the board?
Welling Clark, El Paso County, motion to approve to release for public comment.
Tyler Peoples, I second that.
Okay, motion and a second. Any questions, comments? Are none, so let's take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? And there are none. Okay, Danelle, I think we got you up next.
Yes, thank you for having me. So as you all know, we have one vacancy for an at-large member of the Community Advisory Committee. In the past, what we have done, or the last time we had an opening, what we did was we had a nomination subcommittee. And then we went back and asked those folks who had previously applied if they would like to be considered again, as well as opened a new application window for additional folks. So what we need from you all today is one, if you'd like to continue that process the same way. And if the members of the nomination subcommittee would like to stay. I believe those members were Kathy Heisey, Tyler Peoples, and was it? There's one other person and I can't
I
remember who
believe
it
it
was.
was Maddie.
Maddie, it was Maddie. Thank you.
And I don't see her online, so. First of all, Tyler, would you still be interested?
Yeah, it would be my pleasure to serve the group.
And Kathy, are you still interested?
I don't feel like I have time to do it this time. I know I've done it a couple of times. And
Okay.
I think I'm gonna have to decline this time.
Okay, so we'll need to get two other people if they have an interest. Correct, Danelle?
Yes, that would be ideal. I can also send out an email to the CAC as a whole, asking if anybody's interested and follow up with Maddie, see if she would be interested in continuing.
That sounds best to me. Any objections? Okay.
Okay.
Kathy, your hand's up again.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. As far as asking the folks that did not get selected last time, I am wondering about moving on from that list. I feel like most, if not all of them, were deemed not not good fits for our board the last at least 2 cycles. And so I wonder if it makes sense to start with a fresh pool of applicants.
And are you making that as a motion, Kathy?
Sure, if we need a motion along that vein.
I think that would be best instead of us just commenting on it.
Okay, I move that we start the nomination committee process with a fresh pool of applicants.
Okay, and based on Kathy's motion, is there a second?
Tyler Peoples, I second that motion. Being part of those discussions, I think that there is wisdom in that comment, and I second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other comments, questions? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Are none. So, Nell, I think if you want to proceed on, and
Certainly. Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate
Okay.
that.
thank you. And let's see on our agenda here, moving. I didn't have my printed notes with me today, so I'm relying on the screen for my agenda. Okay, moving on next. You don't have anything else to cover on that, Danelle, do you?
No, thank you.
Okay. Okay, and I think we're on item 6, Jared. Screen here.
Mr. Chair, the regional freight plan, I believe, is the next item.
Okay,
I'll do a very brief introduction.
okay. No,
as
I wasn't getting it up on my screen. I apologize.
But again, I think most of you know that we are in the process of doing a regional freight plan for the region. This is a follow-up to the freight study that we adopted, I believe, in the beginning of 2025. Richard Driscoll was with Cambridge Systematics, was also our consultant for the study, as well as he is now for the plan. So Richard, feel free to set the stage with that. But anyway, at this point, the consultant's coming in with an update of actions taken to date and information gathered on the freight plan, just to keep you guys in the loop and give you an update. So with that, Richard, hopefully your mic is on and you can take it from here.
Oh yeah, you all set me up really early. I saw my access to microphone and camera came on right away, so I appreciate that. I don't know if you have the PowerPoint on your end. I'm happy to share on my screen. I can pull the PowerPoint up. I currently see the meeting materials elements.
Yeah, I think it's in a folder they got to find. So in the interest of time, if you've got it, we'll just let you share, and that way you can forward the slides as you want.
Yep, give me a moment here. I'm pulling it up.
They got it? You got it? Someone's got it. It's loading.
I can share mine. I don't mind.
Little hourglass is going round and around. And around.
Can you all start to see my screen now?
Yes, we can see it.
Excellent, thank you. All right, I'll leave it in this format if you all will bear with me through it. That way, if there's some comments and things like that, we can add them directly to the PowerPoint here, and we can capture your comments, you know, in person, and then we'll have them saved forever. So yes, we're bringing back the regional freight plan discussion here. If you'll recall, we had brought this to you all, and I believe the end of December, I think it was, right before the holiday season, and had discussed basically what the plan was, why we were doing it, how it's a follow-up to the study, and what our kind of next steps would be. I'll kind of jump ahead here a couple of slides. And so this time what we'll be doing is bringing back kind of just the progress that's happened in the background so far, and specifically speaking to the objectives and performance measures that we're kind of building. Okay, and so last discussion, we had talked about the goal areas that were, you know, determined, you know, through discussion with Freight Steering Committee and some engagement that we had done with the freight community and the public. And so ultimately what had come out of that was these 4 goal areas: safety, economic development, resilience, and military. What we have done since then is kind of built out this hierarchy. What we initially had done is obviously put together the goals. We had you know, a vision statement and then the goal areas. Within each goal area, what we plan to do is have objectives that are kind of specifying outcomes that are going to define the goals, that are going to define the goals of success. Excuse me, that are going to define the success of the goals. And then within those objectives, we'll determine some performance measures that are going to help us to identify the progress of those objectives. And so again, we'll be talking about the objectives piece here today. The performance measures are coming together. We don't want to bring those too readily because things can be a little bit more flexible with those. Ultimately, what this plan will do is put together a toolbox or, you know, some resources that will help decision makers in, you know, identifying what kinds of projects are going to forward some of the freight goal areas that we've defined really early in this project. Basically, what we want this plan to do is be a resource to decision makers when they're considering the impact of projects on freight and to freight, and then also highlighting, you know, where do we want to be with freight over the course of the next a couple of decades here. And so with that, what I'm going to do here is I'll jump right into each of the goal areas and their objectives. I'll really hone in on the ones that were kind of informed by what we heard. So it's coming straight out of the engagement, and those are indicated in blue as we go through these. The green ones are speaking more to some of the more general objectives that we might see in a typical freight plan, but the blues are kind of honing in and making that purposeful, curated element that's going to really speak to PPACG region. And so within the context of safety, what we're doing is bringing human trafficking awareness to the top. We know that's a major discussion point kind of going forward here. Also looking at enhancing safety or eliminating where possible at-grade highway rail crossings. This was something that we heard, both from the rail community and from some of our representatives in Fountain and Colorado Springs. These can be areas where there's high incidents and things like that. So eliminating where possible is certainly going to be a priority or an objective there. And then considerations for transportation of hazardous materials and oversized, overweight vehicles. This is kind of born out of discussion of and we'll speak to this a little bit more when we get to resilience, but born out of the discussion of how does weather impact our ability to move certain materials that have very specific designated routes around the region. Moving into economic development, what we wanted to do was put this bullet here to build an understanding of freight activities in the region for the Tri-County area, recognizing that not all of the counties or not all of the representatives are going to be experiencing the same types of freight. They're not going to be prioritizing the same types of freight movement, and so just recognizing that, hey, there's different things going on in different parts of the region. That bullet toward the third from the bottom there, identifying infrastructure readiness and partner investment opportunities to manage and facilitate growth. This is looking at that piece of how do we position ourselves to be proactive instead of reactive to freight. And actually that comes directly out of a conversation that we had here with the CAC. Was that, hey, we felt that we kind of caught ourselves off guard in certain developments that happen. We want to be proactive in providing the infrastructure or at least understanding where infrastructure is going to be critical in the future. And then these last two bullets are kind of speaking to a rail element, the elevating the Southern Colorado Rail Park as a key rail freight hub. This was something that had a lot of positive. We've heard a lot of positive things about, and so incorporating it here kind of helps position it as a priority, at least certainly as a conceptual priority for the region. And then the retaining intercity rail spurs for freight opportunities. This one's born out of discussions about, we already have these infrastructure. Why go out of our way to make things complicated? Let's use what we have in an efficient way. In the resilience, this second bullet from the bottom, the strategic use of technology and other innovations to improve operations, direct vehicle routing, and keep freight operators and communities informed. Again, born out of. Let me know if I'm going long, please. I'm sorry if I'm. If I do, you can cut me off. Keeping freight operators and communities informed. Again, speaking to the weather-related incidents, things of that nature. We want to let our freight operators know if there's imminent impacts to roadway facilities that are going to reduce their ability to use roadways, or like that they may have to navigate around certain areas. And so this is just like a kind of like a keeping people informed so that they can make the most appropriate and correct decisions when they're routing freight. And then this last bullet here, understanding supply chain vulnerabilities, again born a lot out of that recognition that there are some vulnerabilities. It came kind of around the COVID era. There were some supply chain vulnerabilities that kind of bubble to the top, and so kind of keeping that top of mind is going to make this a really competitive. It's going to position the plan to be really competitive for funding opportunities. And then the last one, all of them are blue because this is such a unique element to the PPACG region. There's such a presence, such a military presence that we felt that it was important to highlight it uniquely. And so the continued collaboration between military installations and regional agencies and organizations, we heard some really great feedback from the military installations saying that, you know, PPACG really hears us out. And so we want to keep that going. Enhancing wayfinding, again, this was something that we heard directly from military folks. We want to get folks to the right gate on time, and then maintaining and strengthening infrastructure in conjunction with military needs. Right sizing the roadways where freight operation, or excuse me, where military operations are going to be regular. And so with that, the next steps, what we'll do is consolidate our performance measures. We'll kind of start to determine what exactly those are, what they look like, and how they speak to the accomplishment of each of those objectives. Develop a prioritization framework and the resources. Again, that's like the ultimate outcome of this plan. And then lastly, just creating a plan document, something physical that's going to be standing the test of time. With that, I will take some questions, some thoughts.
Okay, thank you, Richard. Any questions in the room? Any questions online? I think you went too quick, Richard.
I was afraid that I was going to be going too long there, so I was trying to hustle through there. But we did hit all the key points here and brought what we needed to you all.
Okay, the Southern Colorado Rail, is that the one that's being built down by Fountain at some point?
Correct. It's the on the west. It kind of abuts Fort Carson.
Okay. That's
Yeah,
what I thought. I just wanted to be sure.
Yeah, west of I-25.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're getting no questions, so thank you for your presentation.
Excellent. Look forward to speaking with you all in the future about this.
Okay, thank you again. Okay, Jared. Danelle, Public Participation Plan.
Yes, thank you for having me again. Today we are just going to talk a little bit about our public participation plan. We are doing an update of this document. And this is kind of the kickoff to our 5-year cycle for our next long-range transportation plan. So our 2055 transportation plan. Next slide, please, Jared. So federal regulations require that PPACG produce a public participation plan to kind of guide public involvement for any of our agency plans and programs in order to ensure a well-informed effort. The public participation plan is the overarching kind of document for all of the activities undertaken by the Metropolitan Planning Organization. That's our transportation group here that looks at our planning efforts within that MPO boundary. Underneath that, we also have 2 coordinating plans. Those ones in purple, that's our Title VI plan and our limited English proficiency plan. Those are also overarching plans for all of our programs, or all of our transportation programs that are specific to the Title VI requirements and then the limited English proficiency requirements. And then down in the bottom there, those gray boxes, individual projects. So like the long range transportation plan, the TIP, any of our individual documents that we do, we generally create more detailed public involvement plans for those documents. So for instance, the public participation plan may have information about, here's how you should, here's the minimum public comment period for the long range plan. Here are some tactics you may want to use for the long range plan. And then the actual public involvement plan for the LRTP will go into much more specific detail about the tactics, the survey that we do, the schedule for that particular project, those kinds of things. So it's kind of a tiered approach that we have for public engagement here. Next slide. The documents update cycle is our public participation plan really doesn't have a required cadence. Generally here we have been trying to make an update at the beginning of each long range plan cycle. So our last adopted public participation plan was in 2019. We plan to then adopt it this year. Our Title VI plan has a requirement federally to update every 3 years. So it was last adopted in 2023. Along with that, we also adopted the limited English proficiency plan in 2023. That one also doesn't really have a required cadence, but we generally update it with the Title VI plan because it's very similar kinds of data that we look at. Next slide, please. Just some bullets about what we've learned. What are some of the lessons that we've come across in our last 5 years of public engagement? So one, the website's a great tool. It allows people to go find information on their own time, on their own schedules. We can use it for a variety of educational purposes. We have a lot of map resources, interactive kind of application resources in addition to our planning programs. However, we also know that we can't rely purely on virtual. Having those in-person open houses, having hard copies available, having people available by telephone if folks have questions, always critical to making sure we have well-rounded engagement. Holding in-person events, when we did the long-range plan, we actually expanded our reach a little bit with our open houses. So instead of having 1 or 2 open houses here at PPACG, we had one here, but we also then held one in Monument, one in Woodland Park, one in Fountain. That kind of helps not only with the geography, giving lots of different people the opportunity to come to those events, but also we kind of tried to stagger some of the times, make sure there's events that people who work up until 5 can also attend, making sure that locations are on transit routes, things like that. So we want to make sure that we're really thoughtful about when and where we hold those events. One of the big challenges I think we face, both in this last 5-year cycle, but all the time really, is just engagement fatigue. We do have a lot of jurisdictions. They're all doing their individual plans. We had the long range plan and it was done concurrently with the transit plan and the specialized transportation plan. We had the active transportation plan going on very soon before that. So I think a lot of the same people are getting pinned for a lot of different programs, and that's hard. Especially for volunteers, especially for members of the public, trying to educate folks about what is this transportation plan versus that transportation plan, things like that. So that's just something that we need to be mindful of as we move forward. What is our time schedules? What are time schedules for Colorado Springs, or like Monument right now is doing their comprehensive plan, potentially doing a transportation plan after that. So just being aware of those kinds of things, making sure that we can share engagement opportunities if that's possible. Just making sure we're on the same page is really important. Another thing I kind of touched on is just a lot of people in the public don't understand what PPACG is, don't understand what we do, what's the purpose of our plans versus, Plan COS or the Fountain transportation plan. So just getting some of that kind of information out there. We want to make sure that we are using language that's easy to understand. We want to make sure that we have products that are appealing, but also very reader friendly. We want to use graphics or interactive tools when we can. To that end, we've already started actually a product or a project, a small product but it will be to create some fact sheets for the MPO that talk about all kinds of different planning things. Maybe one is, what is a tip and what does it do? But maybe one is, average prices of certain types of projects or something along those lines that can help, that we can educate the public with, both on our website, at events, that kind of thing, just to give folks more understanding. And then another thing that we've really learned is that asking our community members, especially our CAC members, to learn about PPACG, learn about our products, share our products, give things out to your neighbors or your networks. Really been helpful for us, has really helped us gather a lot of great feedback and engagement. So we're really thankful for your participation. We're thankful for the folks on our Regional Transportation Advisory Plan Committee that really helped with the long range plan. Just want to make sure that we are, again, mindful of those people, their connections, their impact, and their time going forward. Next slide, please, Jared. So just to let you know, why are we making these updates? What are going to be in them? We'll need to make some changes based on just changes on the federal level. So there's been some changes in, various wording, some executive orders, things like that, that will impact our plans a little bit. We'll have, especially in the public participation plan, we'll have an evaluation of some of our past engagement tactics. Have they been effective? We'll have some updates to those tactics going forward, and some of our what we hope to have as outcomes of those tactics. We'll also have, of course, some updated demographic information. We have some new census and an American Community Survey information regarding Title VI and the LEP analysis. So that'll all be wrapped up into these documents. One very last slide. So this is just our timeline for this particular set of projects. And so what will happen is that we are currently drafting the public participation plan, the Title VI plan, and the limited English proficiency plan. In April, we will bring, in March, we will bring a draft of all three of those documents to our committees, kind of give you a summary of what the changes have been. In April, we'll then ask for that release to public comment. The public participation plan is a little bit different public involvement period. It's a 45-day release, whereas our normal period is 30. So that'll span part of the May-June timeframe. And then we'll come back for the recommendation for adoption in July, with hopeful adoption in August. So that's kind of our plan moving forward. If you do have any thoughts on participation efforts, if you have recommendations that you'd like to make, we are always happy to hear those. You are more than welcome to give me a call, send me an email. They may apply to the document as a whole, they may not, but we always kind of squirrel those away for our particular projects and our feedback process. So I'm happy to answer any questions if anybody has any.
Thanks. I really appreciate the work that's gone into this in terms of engagement fatigue. I know often with their surveys or public comment periods, I hear from my city council person's newsletter more so than from my county commissioner communications or anything like that. Are there ways to cultivate public board members to engage with public review, especially around things that affect particular neighborhoods or particular regions? I'm not sure what the outreach is, but that what used to be Kono in terms of the community of neighborhood organizations was also effective at one time. And, you can watch the city council meeting last night to know that when a neighborhood gets stirred up, they turn out. I don't think we want to engage by stirring up, but engagement around things that directly affect individual neighborhoods is always a good focus for cranking up public comment.
Yes, no, I completely agree with that. And appreciate the comment. I think we don't do a lot here that is super focused on individual neighborhoods, but obviously we do have projects in our long range transportation plan that do have impacts on neighborhoods. So we do, I've actually been talking with Hey Neighbor, which is formerly Kono, to try to get someone new on our community advisory committee here since Chris left. So that's definitely somewhere that we are spending some time trying to get some interest. We also go to their neighborhood university every, spring and fall, I think, that they hold to kind of give information to them. But I think that's definitely on our radar, and we'll take that feedback and integrate it. Thank you.
And I would add that you have to remember that our process is one that is a continuation of whatever's happened at the jurisdiction. No jurisdiction, in theory, should really be bringing something to us for the very first time. Everything should be vetted through their jurisdictional process, whether that be the CIP or, improvement, their community improvement program, or some other process where then they vetted and improved that, said this is something that we need or want to take through the PPACG process. So hopefully there's nothing that is a quote unquote a surprise that when it shows up here. Additionally, after it goes through our process, it's then embedded within the plan, but it's not the actual sort of process of public outreach for design and construction and right of way. So there should be another community process on the back end where the jurisdiction is coming to you and saying, yeah, we're getting ready to put this road work in or this improvement in, and they have to go through it. And again, depending on the size of the project and the funding from the project, right? Things they fund with the PPRTA for a small neighborhood project is certainly much different than something that they received a $10 million federal grant to do, right? So there is some scale there, right? So yes, you could definitely, someone could point and say, well, this project sort of skated through and nobody knew about it. Well, okay, well, again, if it's, a couple $100,000 and it's whatever, I have no control over that. That's kind of on the jurisdiction. But the bigger ones, again, you see them before, you see them during, and then you see them after. We're just in that sort of middle part. So I just wanted to add that for whatever it was worth.
Yeah, and that is that's one of our challenges is kind of explaining that process to members of the public and noting that our participation process may be, not the best or most effective place for them to make certain kinds of comments, but maybe here are some other places where you could make those kinds of comments where they might make more impact. So I think that's part of our education that we need to do as well.
Any other questions? And I'm not seeing any, so miscellaneous comments. Welling, did you have something about the air show you wanted to?
Yes, Welling Clark, El Paso County. This September, we will be having a Pikes Peak Regional Air Show. I will send a flyer to PPACG for dissemination to all the CAC members. It'll be the National Museum of World War II is putting it on. We'll have some F-35s there and also some stunt pilots too. It'll be the third week, I believe the 19th and 20th of September. So it's not going to be Hates hot like it was 2 years ago. But just want to let everybody know about that. And in 2027, right now we're scheduled to have the Blue Angels coming out here again. And I'll get information out for that when it comes. Over.
John?
Under member entity announcements, if we could have, CDOT would like to sort of chat with you for a little bit. We have a process by which if a project comes in and follows under certain criteria, it can be an administrative amendment where we just process it and move it on. The big sort of key there is if it's funds that we receive and that we can program, that means it's a formal amendment. If it's decisions that are made offline that we have nothing to do with, that's probably maybe a little awkward wording there, but for the most part, somebody else makes a decision, but we still sort of process an amendment to move it forward. We have such a thing where, again, CDOT has done an administrative amendment. I think we've already processed it so that they can move on with their project. It's very important. But at the same time, CDOT being the very good regional partner they are, has said for transparency, we want to make sure that you all being the public know what's going on. So at our TAC meeting, Jeff Guthrie sort of talked about the project. Patty's going to talk about it now with CDOT real quick, just to keep you in the loop. And then probably I see John Hall on here, so maybe John Hall is going to talk about it at our board of directors meeting March 11th. But with that, they do want to let you know about an administrative amendment they're processing where they move some funds around to help with a funding shortfall for a project. So Patty, take it away.
Or under that. And this is for allowing our project has come up with some complexity to it. There's been a lot of coordination with CSU, fiber, just the electrical. And then if you all have been listening to the news, we just did a partial open of the DDI last night and this morning. Everything's been working well. So hopefully you all see the progress, but the staffing on it was underestimated at the beginning of the project, and this is going to account for that with our consultant, our CDOT staffing, and any additional items we see coming up.
And the money came from two other projects that are also in the 10-year plan. And I think John Hall likes to say that they were undefined. So by taking the $1 million from those projects and moving it over here, we have a defined project that gets to stay on schedule, on budget, while two undefined projects, again, it's like, and John, you might need to hop in and help me here, or Patty. But basically it's like, well, we're going to put money towards this and we're going to do something. But they haven't said what they were going to do yet. So taking money away from that doesn't hurt anything because there's nothing that has been defined to do it. So this is, again, while this is an administrative thing, it's already been happening. So it's an information thing. We're not asking for approval. But again, CDOT being good partners wanted to be open about it. So do you know the two projects that are sort of getting money, or do we tag John Hall coming off the rope?
No, the US 24, like you called it, for lack of better words, is undefined. It's a improvement project. The I-25 is one of my projects in my residency. It's the South Academy to Circle corridor improvements. And although we have an idea of what we're going to do through there, we're waiting for grant money to, see what we can apply for. And it may not happen this year, it might not happen next year, but anything that comes up that we could be well qualified for, we're going to go after it. And that would be funding that fully in sections. So we might do a bridge. There's 2 bridges involved, actually 3 now that I think about it, and then along with the corridor improvements along I-25. any questions?
Quick question.
Sure.
Highway 24 undefined, is that west, east?
West, so I think it was, let me see my memo here. It was,
Hey,
US
John Hall turned on
24,
his mic if you need him. I'm sorry.
no, it's okay, US 24 segment G, milepost 311 to 350, so that's going towards out east, I'm sorry, going out east. John is unmuted, so I want to make sure I got that right.
Okay, Welling's got a question.
You did.
Well, actually, oh, go ahead.
Patty has it right. It's the East project.
It's an
It
east
was-
project,
it was
correct.
east- It was money designated for safety improvements and mobility improvements on the East 24.
Sounds good.
Welling, Clark, El Paso County, just for a point of clarification. So when I hear the term undefined project, was that the right term?
That was my term. I'm not sure if that's the official CDOT term,
No.
so.
But
Yeah,
what I'm
don't
hearing,
listen to that guy.
what I'm hearing is if I was a citizen, it would be, if I hear that, I should think maybe, correct me if I'm wrong, that there is a project that's needed to fix a problem. We just don't have the resource. We can fix it multiple ways. We don't have the resources. So it's kind of like, when we get enough money, we know what we can implement. And so it's kind of like a fact-finding effort in a way where you see if you can get the resources to resolve a problem. Is that a fair way to state?
Almost, it's
Okay.
money allocated to that particular segment of road. And it'll, when we have defined what we're going to fix along that, and it could be whatever, infrastructure along that, not just the road, maybe culverts, maybe bridges, electrical, ITS, utilities, and access, for future, not improvements, like US 24 Garrett to Woodman, there's a big development going on out there right across the street. So we make, accommodations for things like that.
So in other words, when it's undefined, according to John's estimate, which I would say yes, okay, but it's more of an abstract issue. We know we have a problem, we want to fix it, and we just have to see what resources we have. And then when we have a project that is defined, it's actually a very specifically defined project from the standpoint of infrastructure with costing associated with that. Is that a fair statement?
I
I'm
think that's
I'm happy
closer.
I'm happy
Yeah,
to,
John,
Patty, I can.
John Hall.
I believe that's a very reasonable characterization. I mean, the only, we have a number of lines we've had for years in the RPP program that PPACG has approved called mobility and safety improvements. And so they are undefined scope in terms of what exactly we would improve with them. In this case, for example, out on 24G, I mean, those funds are likely to end up getting used. Some of the other funds, by the way, we have more funds designated in FY27, more funds designated in FY28 on the current RPP list. And those funds will probably go to, for example, the US 24 East project, the 10-year project that's hopefully going to advertise. That's on track, I should say. Let's not use the word hopefully. That's on track to advertise this fall. And that includes lots of safety improvements, and that money will help make that project whole if it needs a little bit more resources, for example. But it doesn't have to go to that project if the project doesn't end up needing those resources. We can continue to look to other things. In this case, Patty mentioned that it's a 24G, mobility and safety improvements money. Well, and it's going to the corridor to help with mobility and safety. I mean, one of the things that Patty's project, that the Powers and Airport project is having to put resources to, is a lot of state patrol to help keep it safe. So it's really going to actually the activity that it needs, that it's intended to in the corridor, even in that case. I mean, in the case of the 24G, it's right there. It's being applied to Highway 24. Believe it or not, that segment of Powers Boulevard is Highway 24, not Highway 21, where Airport is. So I think you characterized it well, though.
Yeah, thank you. Very informative.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Patty.
Thank you, Patty.
Any more, John? We just love hearing your voice here.
I've got a book upstairs I could read to you.
I heard about the book, never
Yeah.
mind.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, and meeting schedules as posted, and keep in mind, Danielle will be sending out some information about the subcommittee. So if no other questions, comments, we are adjourned.